Some of the characters we exhibit as adults were long formed even before we had words for them. Some of the ways we relate with people and how we interact generally in society are things that have been predestined long before we became adults. Have you ever thought about how you behave, how you relate with people, how you work, how you process your emotions? Have you ever wondered if you were born that way or if situations made you that way? Welcome to Wellbeing with Neka. And like I promised the last time, we are still continuing on adverse childhood experiences. In the last episode, we talked about what adverse childhood experiences were and how they are classified or things that make up adverse childhood experiences. So for today, we'll be talking about how these things come out in our adulthood, how they translate into who we become as adults. Before we go further, I want to make this point that it is not a hard and fast rule that everybody who went through some form of childhood trauma will turn out badly or will have these things we are going to discuss today. But on a scale, they are more likely to have these characters or to exhibit these behaviors we are going to discuss. This is not to shame or blame anybody. Rather, it is to throw light so that people will be able to ask questions like, what happened to this person? Instead of attacking people or judging them merely by how they behave as adults. Sometimes being able to know what happened in people's earlier years will make it possible for them to get help. So today we'll be discussing these under 6 headings. This is not all, but this is what we'll be able to capture in today's video. The most common place childhood trauma appears in adults is in romantic relationships. Children tend to learn what love means from what they experienced around them growing up. If love was absent, that is how they will grow up. So for a child, the environment or the circumstances of growing up determines what they understand as love. For people who had adverse childhood experiences, love comes with a lot of anxiety. Love comes with a lot of fights or flee motions. Unfortunately, a lot of adults do not know that how they handle their romantic relationships is because of how they grew up or the trauma they experienced as children. This, in turn, could translate into insecurity, to jealousy, to distrust, anxiety around people who show them love. Romantic relationships are usually the most hit in adulthood. Another consequence in romantic relationship is that people who have, or some people who have had this experience, tend to be clingy or emotionally attached to people. They tend to want to be loved. They tend to want to be seen, irrespective of whether the relationship is toxic or not. They cling on to such affection or what they term as affection so that their adulthood does not experience what their childhood experienced. Are you one of those people who are always distrusting? Have you asked yourself, where is this from? Why am I distrusting of someone who has not done anything to warrant the distrust? Are you extremely jealous? Are you extremely clingy? You might need to ask yourself deep questions or seek for professional help from people who will be able to dig deep into your background and help with your healing. Another part of our existence that is badly hit by adverse childhood experiences, self-confidence and self-worth. A child's first experience at being confident or knowing their self-worth is from whoever took care of them. If as a child, someone grows up not being encouraged, not being applauded, not being told they are worthy, not being told they are loved, these set of people grow up feeling unworthy. Now, not everybody grows up feeling unworthy. There are two extremes to the outcome. They either grow up being very self-conscious and unworthy. They feel extreme syndrome. They feel extremely unworthy even of their own achievements. Or they become perfectionists, people who put in their all and extra so that they will be considered worthy. Either ways, the person's self-worth is damaged. If a carer or someone who brought up a child does not make it a point of duty to teach or to show the child what they are worth or how much they are valued. These children take this into their adulthood. They grow up like that, afraid. They grow up not believing in their own abilities, or they assume they are not good enough, so they have to work extra and be perfect in whatever they are doing. So sometimes the people who you're dealing with, who appear as perfectionists, who do not give room for any mistakes, are people who have experienced adverse childhood trauma, who have experienced trauma growing up. So they do not give room for excuses. They do not give room for mistakes, because in their mind, they were not perfect when they were growing up, so they had to make up for it as adults. The unfortunate thing about this is that some of the people do not know that the characters they are exhibiting is based off of how they grew up. Before we go on, I want to remind you that on this channel, we talk about your mental well-being and your mental health from a psychological point of view. And I appreciate it if you can subscribe, share, recommend, drop a comment to encourage us.